Hi folks, this is not a bad place from which to share with you some thoughts on Saudi Arabia and the impressive economic and cultural change that is underway, and about which, after an intense tour of several cities, I still have more questions than answers. I'm in the oasis of Alula, in the middle of the Arabian desert, which was a key point of the incense route in ancient times, very close to Hijra, the breathtaking and dazzling archaeological site in the northwest of the country that was once one of the centers of the Nabatean civilization. I have arrived here at my own initiative and with my own means, of course, after traveling through many parts of the country, including Riyadh, the capital, then through Jeddah on the shores of the Red Sea, and then in the northwestern part of the peninsula, before entering this place surrounded by sandstone rock formations, as you can see behind me, and dunes and canyons and everything, which has been accessible to outsiders only very recently and will probably be a destination for millions of visitors in a few years. This kingdom, which is almost 4 times the size of France and larger than Mexico, intends, since the Crown Prince took control, to shake off the dust of religious obscurantism, oil rentierism, and relative underdevelopment, despite an economy that produces no less than $1 trillion a year. All this under the slogan Vision 2030. The modernization effort is equivalent in ambition, despite the many and obvious differences, perhaps to what Emperor Meiji did in Japan in the second half of the 19th century, or what Kemal Ataturk did in Turkey in the first decades of the 20th century, or even what Deng Xiaoping did in China from the end of the 70s onwards. I say ambition, but by no means yet reality. The central idea is, without renouncing a regime of absolute monarchy that is politically authoritarian, to open up the economy and end its decades-long dependence on oil and gas, to modify a fundamentalist religious tradition that goes back to the alliance between the Saudi authorities and Wahhabism in the 18th century, so that religion does not weigh so heavily in politics and law and culture anymore, to integrate Arabia more with the world and to place it among the world powers in the not-so-distant future. To achieve this goal, many things have changed very fast. But my conclusion is that the process is still only half done. The modernization of Arabia is an ongoing project, and it is already noticeable everywhere and in many ways. For instance, in the way people dress, talk, interact with each other, in the access to social media, which has opened up significantly, and in the way so many Saudis passionately absorb much of what the world has to offer beyond Saudi Arabia's borders. But conspiring against these changes are several things. A deeply entrenched tradition, for one. Also, a state capitalism that, despite the privatization of many activities, makes the central power still an inordinate economic actor through its sovereign wealth fund, for instance. An elite that clearly feels displaced. And also the fact that to bring about all this modernization, the regime has concentrated political power in very few hands. The dependence of the entire modernizing project on a single leader, the Crown Prince, involves very obvious risks. For now, the government is very popular, as I have witnessed with my own eyes and ears, especially because it is perceived as the liberator of a people who were subjected to a privileged, corrupt, immobile political caste. It is visible in the undeniable progress of women, for instance, in this society, despite all customs and family pressures which still exist, in the thirst for prosperity and the drive on many levels to catch up in everything from technology. I've seen international conferences devoted to that here, to sports and to the arts. I've seen some incredible art, both local and foreign, these past few days. But everything is half done, and it is not possible to predict that the project will not derail. What is certain is that this is one of the places in the world where most attention will need to be paid in the years to come. The leaders, in pursuit of their epoch-making goal, have shown themselves willing to do almost anything, including changing their foreign policy, which is why they made deals with the enemy in Yemen, why they are in the process of ironing out differences with Iran. They have engaged Qatar decisively, and before the Hamas attacks, were in dealings even with Israel. The Crown Prince has even taken responsibility for human rights abuses committed in recent years by the secret services. But don't get me wrong, it's not liberal democracy that's underway here, obviously. but a major updating, let's call it that, in every sense except the political one. The idealist in me wants to believe that this project will succeed and that it will bring in time, with the change of mentality and economic openness, more political liberty, more tolerance. The skeptic in me says that there is still too much distance between ambition and reality, and that if the oil reserves begin to run out too quickly, as some Western critics predict, and the country fails to diversify in time, it will be doomed. Be that as it may, there are momentous transformations going on here, and it is fascinating to watch.